The sun was setting over the endless expanse of desert, painting the horizon in hues of orange and crimson. A lone cowboy, clad in a weathered leather jacket and dusty boots, rode steadily across the barren landscape. His horse's hooves kicked up clouds of sand as they made their way toward a faint outline of a small town on the distant horizon. The man's face, shadowed by the brim of his hat, betrayed no emotion, but his eyes, sharp and watchful, scanned the surroundings with an intensity that spoke of years spent surviving in this unforgiving land. Until he saw it. Buried halfway in the dry earth beside the trail lay a sack, its fabric frayed and worn from exposure to the elements. Something about it seemed off, too deliberate, too out of place amidst the desolation. The cowboy reined in his horse, dismounted, and approached cautiously. His hand instinctively hovered near the revolver at his hip, though he couldn't say why. It wasn't until he bent down to inspect the sack more closely that the first shiver ran down his spine. A faint sound escaped from within, a soft, barely audible whimper. Not wind, not animal. Human. His heart quickened as he reached for the sack, pulling it free from the dirt. He untied the knot securing the top, revealing what lay inside. A baby, swaddled tightly in tattered blankets. Its tiny face was streaked with tears, cheeks flushed red from crying. But even as the cowboy stared in disbelief, something else happened. Something that would forever change the course of his life. The infant stopped crying suddenly, its lips parting ever so slightly. And then, in a voice impossibly clear for one so young, it whispered, "Mama." The night had fallen swiftly after that moment, blanketing the world in darkness save for the faint glow of the moon overhead. The cowboy sat cross-legged beside the campfire he'd built hastily, cradling the baby close to his chest. The child had fallen asleep almost immediately after its strange utterance, leaving the man alone with his thoughts, and a growing sense of unease. He glanced around the encampment, taking in the vast emptiness of the desert stretching endlessly in every direction. The silence here was oppressive, broken only by the occasional crackle of the fire and the distant hoot of an owl somewhere far away. Yet despite the tranquility, there was an underlying tension in the air, as if the very ground beneath him were holding secrets long buried. Little did he know how right he was. The cowboy's name was Elias Kane, a wanderer who had seen enough hardship in his 30-odd years to last several lifetimes. Born into poverty, raised in violence, and shaped by loss, Elias had learned early on never to trust anyone, not even himself. He lived by a simple creed: take care of yourself and let fate handle the rest. But now, staring at the sleeping form nestled against him, he felt a strange stirring in his chest, a flicker of responsibility he hadn't known existed. As dawn broke, casting golden light over the rugged terrain, Elias decided where to go next. There was a settlement not far from here, a dusty little town called Redemption Ridge. Perhaps someone that could explain why a baby had been left in the middle of nowhere, and why it had spoken such a haunting word before falling silent. Redemption Ridge was anything but redemptive, nestled between two towering cliffs. The town sprawled outward like a patchwork quilt stitched together haphazardly. Wooden buildings lined the main street, their walls warped and splintered from years of neglect. Saloons blared music late into the night, while gamblers and drunkards spilled out onto the sidewalks, arguing and brawling without remorse. It was a place where dreams went to die, yet somehow managed to cling stubbornly to existence. Elias tied his horse outside the general store, adjusting the bundle in his arms as he stepped inside. The bell above the door jingled softly, drawing the attention of the shopkeeper, an older man with a grizzled beard and weary eyes. Behind the counter, shelves groaned under the weight of canned goods, sacks of flour, and other supplies necessary for survival in these harsh lands. "What can I do you for?" the shopkeeper asked gruffly, wiping his hands on his apron. Elias hesitated, unsure of how to begin. Finally, he cleared his throat and said, "I found this baby out there." He gestured vaguely toward the door. "Thought maybe you'd know something about it." The shopkeeper's brow furrowed as he leaned forward, peering curiously at the child wrapped snugly in Elias's arms. After a moment, he shook his head. "Nope, don't recognize it. But folks around here come and go faster than tumbleweeds. You might try a skin Doc Harper. He's got a knack for keeping track of things like this. Doc Harper turned out to be a wiry old man with spectacles perpetually perched on the edge of his nose. His office, located above the barber shop, smelled strongly of antiseptic and stale coffee. When Elias explained the situation, the doctor listened intently, nodding occasionally before finally speaking. That's peculiar, Doc Harper mused, stroking his chin thoughtfully. There hasn't been any reports of missing children recently, but that doesn't mean much. People don't always report things in this neck of the woods. Still, if I were you, I'd check out the old homestead just beyond the river. Heard tell some family used to live there, though they vanished years ago under mysterious circumstances. By midday, Elias found himself standing at the edge of the river, gazing across the water at the dilapidated structure looming in the distance. Once, it must have been a grand estate, surrounded by lush fields and vibrant gardens. Now, however, it stood as a testament to decay and abandonment, its windows shattered and roof sagging precariously. Crossing the rickety bridge leading to the property, Elias tightened his grip on the baby as unease settled deeper into his bones. The closer he got to the house, the more he became aware of the unnatural stillness surrounding it, the absence of birdsong, the lack of rustling leaves, the complete and utter quiet. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the scent of mildew. Cobwebs draped like curtains from the ceiling, and furniture lay overturned or broken, as if caught in the midst of a violent struggle. In the center of the main room, a rocking chair creaked gently back and forth, though no breeze stirred the stagnant atmosphere. And then he heard it again, that whisper, soft yet unmistakable. "Mama?" This time, it came from behind him. Spinning around, Elias scanned the room, his pulse pounding wildly in his ears. No one was there, just the baby, still asleep in his arms. Yet the hairs on the back of his neck stood on end, and a cold sweat broke out across his forehead. But then, from the shadows emerged a figure, cloaked entirely in black. Their face was obscured by a hood, but their presence radiated menace. They moved silently, almost gliding across the floorboards, stopping mere feet away from Elias. "Who are you?" Elias demanded, his voice trembling despite his best efforts to remain calm. "What do you want?" The figure tilted their head slightly, as if considering the question. Then, in a voice low and raspy, they replied, "You shouldn't have brought her here." "Her?" Elias frowned, confusion clouding his mind. "Her? What do you mean, her?" "This is just a baby." The figure took another step closer, reaching out a skeletal hand. "She knows more than she lets on, more than you can possibly imagine." Before Elias could respond, the ground beneath him began to shake violently. Dust rained down from the ceiling, and the walls groaned ominously as cracks spread outward like spiderwebs. Panic surged through him as he backed away, clutching the baby protectively. "You need to leave," the figure warned, their tone urgent now. "Now!" Without hesitation, Elias turned and ran, bursting through the front door just as the entire house collapsed inward with a deafening roar. He didn't stop running until he reached the safety of the forest, putting as much distance between himself and the ruins as possible. Days passed, and still Elias carried the baby with him wherever he went, searching for answers but finding none. The whispers continued intermittently, always the same word, "Mama," spoken with eerie clarity. Each time, it sent chills coursing through his body, reminding him of the hidden danger lurking just beneath the surface. It wasn't until one fateful evening, as he sat beneath a sky speckled with stars, that the truth finally revealed itself. The baby opened its eyes, not the wide, innocent gaze of a newborn, but the calculating stare of someone far older. And when it spoke, its voice resonated with power, commanding and unyielding. "I am not what I seem," it declared, its words sending shockwaves through Elias's mind. "And neither are you." In that instant, everything changed. The veil of mystery lifted, exposing truths buried deep within both their souls. For Elias, it was the beginning of a journey unlike any other, a quest for redemption, understanding, and ultimately, acceptance. Because sometimes the greatest mysteries lie not in the world around us, but within ourselves. The baby's eyes glimmered under the starlight, their depth unnerving yet strangely mesmerizing. Elias felt his breath catching his throat as the infant continued to speak, its voice no longer childlike, but resonant with an ageless wisdom that defied comprehension. "You were chosen," the baby said, its gaze piercing through the darkness. "Not by chance, but by design. This path you walk now is one you cannot escape, though you may try." Elias stared at the child in his arms, disbelief warring with fear within him. His hands trembled slightly, but he refused to let go. "Chosen for what?" he demanded, his voice hoarse. "What do you mean?" The baby tilted its head, a gesture eerily adult-like despite its tiny form. "To uncover truths long buried. To face shadows that have haunted this land since before your kind walked it. And perhaps to save what remains of a world slipping into chaos." A cold wind swept through the clearing, carrying with it whispers so faint they seemed almost imaginary. Yet Elias heard them clearly. Faint cries, desperate pleas, and echoes of battles fought long ago. The forest around him seemed alive, every tree and blade of grass trembling as if responding to some unseen force. Little did he know, the ground beneath his feet was more than mere earth. It was a graveyard, not just of bodies, but of secrets, of promises broken and lives stolen. Redemption Ridge, the river, the old homestead, all were connected by threads invisible to the naked eye, woven together by forces beyond human understanding. Dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. Elias rose from where he had spent the night, his mind reeling from the revelations of the previous evening. He knew he couldn't stay here. Whatever this baby was, it brought danger and possibly salvation with it. But where should he go? Who could he trust? As he packed his belongings, the baby stirred in its makeshift cradle. Its eyes opened once more, meeting his with an intensity that made him pause. "You will find answers in the canyon," it said softly. "But beware, the truth comes at cost." Elias hesitated, torn between curiosity and caution. Finally, he nodded. If there was even a sliver of hope to unravel this mystery, he would take it. Mounting his horse, he set off toward the canyon, following the directions the baby had given him. The journey was arduous. The trail grew narrower as he ventured deeper into the wilderness, the air thickening with an oppressive heat that clung to his skin like a second layer. By midday, the landscape shifted dramatically. Towering cliffs rose on either side of him, their surfaces etched with strange symbols that glowed faintly in the sunlight. They looked ancient, as if carved by hands long forgotten. His horse whinnied nervously, sensing something amiss. Elias patted its neck reassuringly, though his own heart pounded in his chest. As he rounded a bend in the trail, he saw it, a vast cavern entrance yawning open before him, its mouth dark and foreboding. Inside, the air was cool and damp, the silence absolute except for the occasional drip of water echoing off the walls. Elias dismounted, leading his horse cautiously forward. The baby remained silent, its presence heavy but unspoken. The deeper they went, the more intricate the carvings became, depicting scenes of war, sacrifice, and rebirth. Figures resembling humans stood alongside others that were unmistakably otherworldly, until, finally, they reached the heart of the cavern. There, suspended in midair, was a glowing orb, pulsated with light that shifted between colors. Around it floated fragments of what appeared to be shattered mirrors, each reflecting different visions. A bustling town consumed by fire, a battlefield littered with fallen warriors, and a woman weeping over a cradle. The baby stirred again, its voice ringing out clear and commanding. "This is the source," it declared, "the well of echoes. Here lies the memory of all that has been, all that is, and all that might be." Elias approached the orb cautiously, his reflection shimmering across its surface. For a moment, he saw himself, not as he was now, but as he might have been, a man burdened by guilt, searching for redemption. Then the vision changed, showing him standing amidst flames, holding a sword forged from starlight, protecting those who could not protect themselves. "But why me?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. The baby answered without hesitation. "Because you are the last of your kind, a guardian born when none believed such a thing possible. You carry the weight of generations. Elias Kane." Whether you accept it or not, it is yours to bear. Days turned into weeks as Elias delved deeper into the mysteries of the Well of Echoes. He learned of an ancient pact made between humans and beings from another realm, a pact meant to ensure peace, but corrupted by greed and betrayal. The baby, he discovered, was no ordinary child. It was a fragment of the very essence that bound the two worlds together, sent to Earth to warn humanity of the impending collapse. But the forces opposing them were formidable. Shadows began to creep into the edges of Elias's dreams, whispering promises of power and release. Creatures emerged from the darkness, twisted forms that hunger for destruction. Each night, Elias fought them off, his resolve hardening with each battle. And then came the day of reckoning. In the heart of the canyon, beneath the blazing sun, Elias faced the leader of these shadowy forces, a figure cloaked in black, its eyes burning like embers. "You cannot win," it sneered, its voice reverberating through the valley. "Surrender, and I will spare your pitiful existence." Elias tightened his grip on the revolver at his hip, his knuckles white. "Never," he growled. "I'll fight until my last breath." The battle that followed was unlike anything Elias had ever experienced. Bullets ricocheted off shields of pure darkness, while bolts of light erupted from the Well of Echoes, illuminating the battlefield with blinding intensity. The baby cried out, its voice merging with the chorus of echoes, amplifying the power of the light. When the dust settled, the shadowy figure lay defeated, its form dissolving into nothingness. The canyon fell silent, the only sound the gentle rustling of leaves carried by the wind. Elias sank to his knees, exhaustion washing over him. The baby gazed up at him, its expression serene. "It is done," it said softly. "For now." As he rode away from the canyon, leaving behind the remnants of the battle, Elias felt a sense of peace settle over him. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges yet unseen. But for the first time in years, he felt a purpose guiding his steps, one that transcended the boundaries of this world and the next. And so, beneath the endless expanse of the wild west sky, Elias Kane continued his journey, forever changed by the whispers of a baby left in a sack and the truths hidden within the Well of Echoes. The days that followed were quiet, almost too quiet. Elias rode through landscapes painted in hues of gold and amber, the sun casting long shadows across the rolling plains. The baby remained silent, its presence a comforting weight in his arms. Yet beneath the tranquility, Elias felt an undercurrent of tension, a sense that their battle had only scratched the surface of a much larger conflict. One evening, as the horizon bled into twilight, Elias spotted something on the distant ridge, a figure standing motionless against the fading light. His hand instinctively moved to his revolver as he urged his horse closer. The figure turned slightly, revealing a woman draped in a tattered cloak, her face obscured by a hood. "Who are you?" Elias called out, his voice carrying across the stillness. The woman stepped forward, her movements deliberate yet unhurried. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft but carried an authority that demanded attention. "I am Mara," she said, "and I have been waiting for you." Elias dismounted, keeping a wary distance between them. "Waiting for me? How do you know about this?" He gestured toward the baby, who watched the stranger with wide, unblinking eyes. Mara lowered her hood, revealing a face lined with age but radiating wisdom. Her gaze settled on the child, a mixture of sorrow and determination flickering in her eyes. "I know more than you realize," she replied, "for I, too, was once a guardian." Elias's breath caught in his throat. "A guardian? Like me?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, though my time has passed. Now, it is your turn to carry the torch, or so they say." Her expression darkened. But beware Elias Kane. Not all who seek the Well of Echoes do so with noble intentions. Before Elias could press her further, Mara extended a hand, palm upward. A faint glow emanated from her skin, forming a map-like pattern in the air. "Follow this path," she instructed. "It will lead you to those who can help, but also to those who wish to destroy what you protect." With that, she vanished into the night, leaving Elias alone with the glowing map suspended before him. It pulsed softly, guiding him toward a destination unknown. The journey took them through dense forests where the trees seemed to whisper secrets to one another, past rivers whose waters glimmer with an unnatural luminescence, and into valleys shrouded in perpetual mist. Along the way, Elias encountered signs of unrest, abandoned campsites, scorched earth, and remnants of battles fought unseen. The baby's whispers grew louder, each word resonating with urgency. "Mama," it murmured one night as Elias sat beside the campfire. But this time, the word carried a new meaning, tinged with longing and regret. Elias frowned, staring into the flames. "Who is your mother, little one?" he asked aloud, though he doubted the child would answer. To his surprise, it did. "She is the keeper," the baby replied, its voice steady and clear. "She guards the threshold between worlds, ensuring balance is maintained. Without her, everything unravels. And what happens if she fails?" Elias pressed, his heart pounding. The baby hesitated, then whispered, "Chaos consumes all." Their path eventually led them to a secluded monastery nestled high in the mountains. Its stone walls were weathered by centuries of wind and rain, yet it exuded an aura of serenity. As Elias approached, monks clad in simple robes emerged from within, their expressions calm but curious. "You are expected," one of them said, bowing slightly. "Come, there is much to discuss." Inside, the air was filled with the scent of incense and the soft murmur of chants. Elias followed the monk to a chamber adorned with tapestries depicting celestial beings and earthly creatures coexisting in harmony. At the center of the room stood an elder monk, his eyes closed in meditation. "This is Brother Solomon." The guide introduced. "He knows the history of the Guardians and the Well of Echoes better than anyone alive today." Brother Solomon opened his eyes, their depth mirroring the baby's. "Welcome, Elias Kane," he said, his voice warm yet authoritative. "You bring both hope and peril to our doorstep." Elias shifted uncomfortably, the weight of the baby pressing heavily against him. "Tell me what I need to know," he said firmly. "What exactly am I protecting, and why does it matter so much?" The elder monk sighed, gesturing for Elias to sit. "Centuries ago, two realms, the mortal world and the ethereal plane, were united by a great alliance. This union brought prosperity and peace, but also attracted forces that sought to exploit its power. To safeguard this connection, guardians were chosen, beings capable of bridging the gap between worlds and maintaining balance. But the pact was broken," Elias interjected, recalling the visions from the Well of Echoes. "Yes," Brother Solomon confirmed. "Betrayal and greed shattered the bond, scattering fragments of the essence throughout both realms. Some fell into hands of those who wished to use them for destruction, while others were hidden away, awaiting the day when a new guardian would arise." Elias stared at the baby in his arms, realization dawning upon him. "So, this child, it's not just a fragment. It's part of the essence itself." "Precisely," the monk replied, "and its existence poses a grave risk. If the wrong hands claim it, the consequences will be catastrophic." As the days passed, Elias trained alongside the monks, honing skills he never knew he possessed. Under their guidance, he learned to channel the power of the Well of Echoes, wielding light as a weapon and shield. The baby watched silently, its presence a constant reminder of the stakes. But danger loomed ever closer. One night, as Elias patrolled the monastery grounds, he sensed a disturbance in the air. Shadows crept along the walls, their forms shifting and twisting unnaturally. From the darkness emerged figures cloaked in obsidian armor, their eyes glowing with malevolent intent. "They've come," the baby whispered urgently. "Protect me, Elias. Protect the essence." Without hesitation, Elias drew his revolver, its barrel now infused with the radiant energy of the well. The first wave of shadow warriors lunged at him, their blades crackling with dark magic. Elias dodged and countered, each shot releasing bursts of light that dispelled the attackers' forms. Yet for every foe he defeated, more appeared, their numbers seemingly endless. The monks joined the fight, wielding staffs imbued with ancient powers. But even their combined strength struggled to hold back the tide. In the chaos, Elias caught sight of figures standing atop the monastery's highest tower, a woman draped in black, her hair whipping wildly in the wind. She raised her hands, and the ground beneath the defenders erupted in spikes of jagged rock. "It's her!" the baby cried. "The one who seeks to claim me." Elias gritted his teeth, charging toward the tower despite the barrage of attacks. The woman laughed, her voice echoing like thunder. "Foolish boy, you cannot win against the inevitable." Reaching the base of the tower, Elias leaped upward, using protruding stones as footholds. With a final burst of speed, he reached the summit, confronting the mysterious adversary face to face. Her features twisted into a sneer. "Hand over the child, or watch everything burn." Elias stood firm, the baby cradled protectively in his arms. "Never," he growled. "This ends here." The battle that ensued was fierce, neither side willing to yield. Light clashed with darkness, illuminating the night sky with brilliant flashes. In the end, it was Elias's unwavering resolve that tipped the scales. With a final strike, he banished the woman into the void, her screams fading into silence. Breathing heavily, Elias looked down at the baby, who gazed up at him with newfound admiration. "Thank you, Elias," it whispered, "for believing in us." And for the first time since finding the child, Elias felt a sense of true purpose. Not as a wanderer, but as a protector of the delicate balance between worlds.